Hello, Mr. Bemis.
Oh, Stevie. Here we are at the very end of things.
The end is nigh.
The end is nigh. The end has passed us by. It is the end and the end and the end. Because there's like 3 endings of this episode.
It's true. There were parts where I was like, is this the end? No.
Yes.
Is this the end? No.
No. I didn't realize when I started watching it that it was going to be a full 30 minutes or 40 minutes longer than the episodes usually are. But that said, we got a lot of last looks at everything, so that was nice.
And if you have just joined us and wondered what on earth we are talking about, Aki.
Oh, what are we talking about? Star Trek. Hello. Should we play the credits?
Let's.
Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
Yes, welcome back to Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast. Today's stardate is stardate 159609.1. And let me tell you, baby, it's a doozy. Indeed, if you're just joining us, that's weird. I guess you're listening to the most recent episode, but this is the end of a series that's had 5 seasons. This is the last episode, so spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Spoilers for everything. Yeah, this is Discovery Season 5, Episode 10, entitled Life Itself. Let's just run it down. It's time to run it down. Can you run it down for me? What just happened? Can you run it down for me? Okay. I looked at these notes earlier and I'm realizing I might have to do some physical moves to get through these in good time. First of all, as you may recall, we're looking for the progenitor's tech, and we found it in a portal that's being held at the Lagrange point of its own between 2 supermassive black holes. Disco's there. Also, the Breen dreadnought that used to belong to Primarch Rune is there. Michael has gone inside, as has Moll, as have 2 Breen soldiers, and things are heating up, folks. Michael, who went inside at the end of the last episode, we have no idea what's going on inside there. She wakes up on a floor in a strange corridor full of windows and lights. And the windows are leading to maybe different worlds, different habitats of some sort. There's no sign of Moll or the other Breen. Her tricorder is picking up an energy signature, but otherwise is unable to sort of describe what is around her. She finds a little plant, rips off a leaf. She's like, okay, there's plants here. That's weird. And then sees a clear sort of watery barrier. And the leaf that she picked floats right through without being harmed. She has nowhere else she can go because there's like a drop off. So she decides to go through this clear barrier, and she is sucked in when she puts her hand through it, and she's dropped onto a sort of rocky hurricane. I'm going to say planet. I'm going to call these places planets. I don't know what they are. Rocky hurricane planet. She falls, hurts herself, gets up, spots a Breen soldier with their head caved in. She is attacked by a second that refuses to cooperate with her. She's like, no, we can help each other. They fight. They're holding onto a rock. The winds get much, much higher. Hurricane winds are. She manages to punch the Breen soldiers so that they fly off into the distance. Seeing that happens, Michael looks up back at the progenitor tech platform that she got sucked off of, and she thinks, oh, I can use these rocks in the wind to get back. And so she has her tricorder tell her when the winds are going to be highest, and she uses that to matrix jump back up to the platform. There, she is attacked by yet another Breen soldier, and then saved by Moll, who kills that soldier. And then there's a standoff with Moll, but Moll is injured in her femoral artery is bleeding out. So Micah throws her a dermal regenerator, and Moll says, you have the clue to how to do this. And Michael's like, maybe I do. And they're like, okay, we gotta work together to get out of this place. Meanwhile, on Disco's being absolutely jacked up because they did a whole thing where they drove into the shuttle bay of the Breen ship, and then they drove back out in order to get everything and to get Michael and the portal out into space. The Breen ship is disabled from that, but Rayner's in charge, and the Breen ship launches dozens of fighters to just come and harry Discovery while they get their ship back together. Meanwhile, at the same time at Federation headquarters, Vance is very skeptical of Saru's mission, which is to go confront Primarch Tahal, who is another Breen Primarch who has heard about the death of Primarch Rune and is going there to sort of assimilate his forces into hers so that she can win the sort of cold but sort of now hot battle for the Imperium. Let's see. Is this when, yes, Commander Nan volunteers to go along with Saru. They're going to go in a shuttle with no weapons, and in order to sort of try to do some diplomacy with the Breen. Back in the portal, the corridors seem endless. Michael says nothing is truly infinite. She's trying to get Moll on board, but Moll does not trust the Federation and thinks the Breen are at least aligned with her because they want Locke back. Michael says, listen, I'll help you if I can. I'll do anything that I can to help you once we find this technology, but there's no way I'm letting the Breen get this tech. And so they begin fighting there in the corridors and blasting through the various worlds, very much Matrix style fighting. Punch, 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 lights, punch, punch, punch through a window, purple planet with purple pink flowers, punch, 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 kick, 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 ow, 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 blood, 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 back onto the platform, punch, 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 back onto a volcanic planet, then back onto the platform. They're fighting like crazy. Meanwhile, Disco is still being attacked. They discover some higher energy plasma near the black holes that they're going to try to avoid because it's highly combustible. Rayner remembers the avalanche from episode 1 of this season when he first met Michael and how the mission changed and how Michael knew it, and he realizes that he has to do the same thing here. They are going to have to fight back before they can get back to the portal to save Michael because they can't just beam it in. They have to get close enough to tractor it in. So Book, who's there, decides to volunteer to go after Michael in a reinforced shuttle while Disco fights the Breen. Book then goes down to engineering, gets an attachment for the shuttle that will sort of help keep the radiation out for at least an hour. He takes a shot of radiation poisoning from Dr. Culber, who also volunteers to go on the mission. Doesn't know why, but he believes that Book will need him. And so he goes along. Back in the portal, still fighty. Michael finally gets the best of Moll and says, listen, we can keep fighting here infinitely, forever, or we can work together. And if Moll can't trust the Federation, then at least trust Michael. And she agrees, but then Michael makes Moll ditch her weapons, and she learns what the pattern buffer is. That's got the body of Locke in it, and Moll's goal is to use this progenitor's tech to bring back Locke. Disco is still in the dogfight. Book and Culber manage to get away in the shuttle, and then they're headed towards the portal. Meanwhile, Tilly has a crazy idea to use the high energy plasma. They're going to fly through it, and then when they are pursued by the Breen vessels, they'll ignite the plasma and kill all the Breen vessels. Rayner goes for it. Back in the portal, Michael says that the progenitors thought in more than 3 dimensions, so they have to look at the place that they're in a way that is more than 3-dimensional. She indicates the shadows next to the lights. There's some negative space that has nothing to cast that shadow. When she puts her hands in there, she thinks she's revealing sort of visual, what do you call those things? Not a hallucination. A visual, a fake thing? Anybody?
Mirage?
Mirage. Let's go with mirage. Optical illusion is the word I was looking for. Optical, not visual. She believes it's an optical illusion, but it is revealed that there's a vast field of yellow flowers and a platform at the center. And this is perhaps where the progenitors have been hiding their machine. Moll and Michael set out into the field. Meanwhile, Saru, they find the fleet, they hail Tahal. Tahal does manage to be picked up on the frequencies. Saru says, listen, to continue in this pace, there's a Federation ship there, there's a Breen ship there. You could risk having an all-out war with the Federation. He offers a formal trade route to help bolster Tahal's claim to the Imperium's throne. Tahal rejects this out of hand, but Saru is not dissuaded. He tells, boy, the name, I'm just so many names. He tells Nan that he's been given information and he just needs to figure out how to use that information. Meanwhile, in the portal, Michael and Moll find the center of this beautiful yellow garden, and an interface forms out of like glass, and it's got these glass like triangles on it. And Michael recalls what the last clue gave her, the hint: build the shape of the one between the many. And Moll suggests, well, you got these triangles here, you can build a triangle out of these triangles. And Michael's like, oh, I'm not so sure about that because it says between, not of. But then she gets a call from Book, because Book's gotten close enough to be able to contact her through the portal. And as she's trying to figure out how to get the connection to Book to be stronger, Moll attacks her from behind, knocks her out, brings out Locke's body, and decides to go with her plan. She makes the triangle, the portal powers up, 3 columns of lights flash down on the field, and Moll is super happy, but then she realizes she's stuck to the portal and she's being overpowered, and she starts screaming. And meanwhile, outside the portal is drawing power from the black holes, and it's causing a serious sort of gravity shears in the area, making everyone's life more difficult. Back on Disco, Tilly's gambit pays off. They are managed to get rid of all the little shuttles that were fighting them, but once they are done celebrating that, they find out that the Dreadnought is up and running and headed to the portal, and it's going to get there before them, and their only option is to plot an intercept course. So Rayner plots an intercept course. Back on the shuttle, the one that Book is flying, there's a lot of shuttles. There's a tractor beam, won't lock on, and then Culber has some sort of revelation, and he goes, oh, you have to synchronize the portal's subspace frequency with our tractor beam. He mysteriously knows exactly what the frequency is. Book doesn't question it, it works. And then they're like, we could drag this out, but they actually don't have enough power. They only have enough power to hold on. So they're holding on to this portal as it's being whipped around, this erratic double black hole system, and they're hoping that Michael can find a way out. Meanwhile, Saru is on the ship with Nan. He gets a 30-second warning from Tahal that they can leave or be destroyed. So Saru takes a more threatening, more belligerent tone, deducing that from the information where Tahal's base is, and that he has a connection to several of those worlds, and he has engaged those peoples to attack her. And while he may lose many, many people in those attacks, it would also leave her weakened so that she could be finished off by the other Primarchs. Tahal tries to call Saru's bluff. Action, Saru comes out and says, look deep into my eyes and see if I have any question at all about whether I would do this. He didn't speak like that. And Tahal's like, okay, you right. And she diverts her fleet. And then Saru and Nan drop out of warp, and they cloak to monitor the situation because they don't trust Tahal altogether. And they also think Discovery might yet need them. Back in the portal, Michael is roused by Book's hails. She's able to see Moll's situation. She pulls Moll off of the portal, but Moll is now completely out of it. Michael calms and thinks as things are going to hell outside, she's got to create the shape of the one with between the many. She recalls the lights, the negative space, so instead of using the triangles to create a triangle, she uses the outlines of the triangles to create a large negative space triangle. This engages the progenitor's tech. Michael's hands are on the interface. And she winds up in the same place, but it's blue, and it's nighttime, and it's gorgeous. And she meets a progenitor, whose name we don't get. I'm going to call them Progi. So Michael meets Progi. Progi's like, whoa, I've been waiting for you. You finally made it. Sweet. And Michael's like, oh, cool. What's the deal? And Progi's like, I'm here to teach you how to use this platform, and you're going to be in charge of it, baby. And Michael's like, can you use it to bring back life? And Progi's like, you can use it to like make a clone of a thing that died to bring something back to life, but it won't have its memories. It won't have its core essence. You can't bring back something that's dead. And so out the window goes Moll's whole plan. Meanwhile, Michael has trepidations about the tech because it does create life, and it can be scaled for speed and for scale. It doesn't matter. It can be big and fast. It can make a lot of life super quick. And Michael's like, you can make an army out of that. And Progi says, hey, it's your choice, but you do with it what you're going to do with it. Meanwhile, in the shuttle, Book and Culber have their shields down to 5%. Book encourages the doctor to go because of his family. The doctor says he'll stay. He'll tough it out until he has to leave. Absolutely has to leave. Book asks how he knew about the tractor beam, and Culber says it's kind of a weird thing. He just had this memory from Janal. He wasn't supposed to have memories from Janal, but he had this one. And he doesn't, the whole search Culber this season has been like, what is the meaning of everything? But also, what is the meaning of the mystery of everything? And so at this moment, Culber is able to accept that some things happen that you can't explain, and maybe there's beauty in that. And he and Book share yet another beautiful moment in the shuttle where they do a fist bump. Back on Discovery, the Breen Dreadnought is closing in on the portal. Discovery is closing in on the Breen Dreadnought collision in 5 minutes. Rayner hears from Saru that Tahal has turned the crew around but left a scout. They need a new idea. Rayner has this new idea. He wants to enclose the Dreadnought and the scout in Disco's spore drive area and transport them away from the situation. Tilly says it can't work, but then says it can work. And then Stamets says it can't work, but then says, well, it could work. And then Stamets and Adira come up with a plan where if they were to separate the saucer section, which is just a fun thing that you don't get to see a lot, and envelop the Breen, they could engage the spore drive and send the Breen anywhere. So Saru's going to need to get the scout in the area, and they ask where to send, and Rayner says, let's send them to the galactic barrier. It'll take them a couple decades to get back, but that's more than they gave his family on Kelleran. Saru and Nan decloak and open fire on the scout to draw it closer to Discovery. Meanwhile, in the portal, Michael is talking to Progi. Progi's like, you're the second one who made it. Dr. Derex, who made it the first time, but didn't think that the species of the galaxy were ready for this technology. So Progi asked Derex to make a path for someone to find their way there, who would become the next steward of this technology. That steward is Michael. Michael will have to use it as she sees fit. And even though Michael is imperfect and afraid and sometimes, scared and worried about things, Progi assures Michael that that is true of all beings, including Progi themselves, and you just have to strive to be the best that you can be and find out what is truly important to you. Michael, still distracted by the plight of her friends outside of this weird time bubble where everything is cool and chill, is also wondering, should any one individual have all this power? It seems crazy. Anyway, Progi's like, listen, you want to go back and save your friends? You don't want the power of all creation? Fine, I'll send you back, and when you get a chance, come back here and learn how to use creation power. And Michael's like, thanks so much. And then Progi touches Michael's head, and then Michael goes back to the present moment, but first she has to relive billions of years of existence. And she does that, and then comes awake, and she is back in the real time and removes her hands from the device, which causes the two black holes to stop freaking out. Meanwhile, Discovery's spore drive trick works. The Breen Dreadnought and the scout are transported away. Seems pretty messy. Michael's back in the portal, rouses Moll, lets her know that there's nothing that can be done for Locke. They put his body back in the, transport thingy, gets her up and moving. Book picks up 2 life signs, beam them aboard the shuttle. Michael gives Moll to Culber for medical attention. Michael and Book reunite. Michael orders Disco to beam the portal aboard Discovery and for folks to meet her in her ready room. There in the ready room, Saru's there. Hooray! Also, Rayner, Adira, and Stamets come in. Stamets is breathlessly excited with the information they got just off of Michael's tricorder, let alone what's inside the progenitor tech portal. But Michael informs them that she recommends that they let this beautiful technology that they fought for so long, they just let it go. They don't need it anymore. They don't need to create more life. They already have, quote, infinite variations and infinite combinations or whatever the Vulcan thing is. And no one person should have all that power. And she believes that once she speaks to the president and to Vance, they will agree with her. So they leave, and Adira consoles Stamets by saying, hey, we had fun though, right? I mean, just science is fun. The portal is indeed sent past the event horizon of one of the black holes, and Michael says they have to trust whoever made it can remake it if they still exist. Book goes to visit Moll in sickbay and says, if you ever need me, I'm here, and you may come not to hate the name Cleveland Booker. And Moll is is reluctant but not adamantly against it. And then Book learns from Nan that when Moll leaves sickbay, before she goes to a detention, she'll be brought to Dr. Kovich. Ooh, Dr. Kovich comes back in the mix. Meanwhile, Michael beams into Dr. Kovich's office learns that the Red Directive is officially closed. All the records classified. No one will ever know this technology or anything existed. Michael's like, I'm quite familiar with this protocol, which is funny because did Kovich not? Does he know about? Anyway, it doesn't matter. That was an interesting moment for me. He compliments Michael on being the most impressive and yet the most aggravating person that he's ever met. Michael tries to give back the infinity device thingy, and Kovich urges Michael to keep it just in case. Might need you for another Red Directive. Michael, in taking in all the memorabilia behind Kovich, which I'm sure will be part of the Easter egg situation, says, I think this Kovich is not your real name. That's probably a code name. And Kovich admits the name is sort of a Red Directive in and of itself. And so Michael gets up and introduces herself as Captain Michael Burnham, and they shake hands, and Kovich introduces himself as Agent Daniels. It's been a long time getting from there to here. I just did a remix. Finally, see, that's not the end. The end. Wedding time. Saru and Tarina go into the planet of red stuff and the sea, and they're gonna get married. Everyone's there, and Michael congratulates them, and there's some sweet moments between people like Tilly and Rayner, and then Book arrives, looking good as hell. You can play that book music if you would, please. Yeah, that's right. I got my hair in braids. Why don't we go talk by the water, just you and me, Michael, where I can thank you, and then you can say, I never stopped, and I'll be like, what? And you'll be like, loving you. And he'll be like, you love me? And you'll be like, yeah. And I'll be like, I love you too. And then we'll say, we should do everything together in the future, including with our cat. And I'll say, yeah. So Michael and Book make up, they kiss by the waves, 'tis beautiful, oh my love, etc., etc. Just as they're about to go back to the party, the infinity devices, and so Kovich is calling them to the next thing, and they decide to go to it together. They walk along the sand, and then they beam out of there to do whatever it is they have to do. The end. Psych. Years later, in a classic rustic former captain getaway kind of deal that all the captains seem to want to. It's weird that captains always want to live on a ranch or something and put up fencing all day. But yes, we see Michael decades later, still has the infinity thingy. She and Book are living together. Book brings her some coffee. It's a big day, apparently. Something is happening. We'll find out about that later. There's a sweet moment where Book says that we finally got our first payload, our own Gisara honeybees made honey, but then falls into her coffee, and so there's wax and honey in the coffee, and the coffee's ruined. Michael goes out to repair a fence, because that's what she's an admiral. Admiral Burnham, we learn, when her computer contacts her and says that her shuttle is arriving. She talks to an alien deer named Alice, who doesn't talk back. She's just Michael just talking to the deer and saying their fences are up for a reason. The shuttle hovers. A pilot, a uniformed captain, beams down. It is her son, Leto. And then they embrace Leto, Book, Burnham. And Leto's freshly promoted to captain, but he pushed off the start date of his first mission so that he could pick up his mother and take her to her final mission, perhaps. On the way to Starfleet headquarters, Michael and Leto talk, and Michael realizes that the most important thing is to be here and now with friends and family that you made along the way, and gives some wisdom to Leto about his first command. They arrive at Federation HQ, where Disco is being somewhat gussied up. It reverted gussied up. It's being turned back into its not 32nd century self. The A is removed from the hull. This is going to be Discovery's last mission. So Michael heads to the bridge. Michael and Zora have a chat. This is a red directive for Zora, they're going to go to a quiet part of space. The crew and Michael will leave, and Zora must wait there for a, quote, craft, which could be a person or a ship or anything, a device. They reminisce. Zora is sad that she will not see Michael again, but Michael says, you can see our descendants when you return. And Zora says she would like that, and then asks Michael if Michael would like to take a seat. And then there's a flashback of the crew on the deck of the bridge, post-progenitor, all just smiling and laughing and clapping and shaking hands. It's very the end of Lord of the Rings. There's Detmer and Owo are there, and everyone's hugging, and it's a wonderful, sweet time. The end. Joking. Back. Disco is back into its old shape. Michael says, one last time, Zora, why don't we get out of here? There's no bridge crew. It's just Michael and Zora and maybe some people in engineering, who knows. And Michael says, let's fly. Disco, back in its old shape, leaves space dock, flies through it's what seems like the entire fleet of the Federation to the edge of HQ. Black alert, spore drive drops away. And here endeth Star Trek Discovery. Period. End of sentence. Let's chat about that.
I say, darling, let's do a quick chat about that.
Let's go. That was everything.
Do you mean it was everything, like the kids say? Like that was everything?
I didn't mean it like the kids say, but I guess I could say it. Well, it did have a lot of things that I wanted. I wanted more made of the wedding, but hey, at an hour and 20 minutes or something like that, they packed a lot in.
I kind of felt it could have ended after the wedding. But
100%.
I understand why it didn't.
Yeah. Well, is this some kind of hint or
Sort
something?
of.
Okay. Well, yes, I think Book and Michael could have gone back into the wedding. We could have had the reminiscing thing, the soft focus hugging of everybody there. But I did like the flash forward to see that they've had a happy life together.
Yes.
And they still joke, and they have a child, and that child's in Starfleet and has become a captain. That was kind of sweet. It could have ended there.
Yes.
For me. I would have been like, cool.
I don't think I needed that.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought...
It was nice. It was nice.
Yeah.
But I don't think I needed it. Because I kind of knew that was what was going to happen for Michael and
Right.
Book.
I think that's true. Yeah. I guess you wonder, like, did you ever go back to the 22nd, 23rd century? Did you ever, any other things could have happened in the future?
Maybe. Don't think I needed
No.
it. I
Yeah.
knew that something nice was going to happen for Michael. It just felt like 10 minutes of, what's the word, when you're, just doing it for yourself.
I can think of several words. That,
Overindulgent.
Overindulgence. Okay. Great. I'll go with overindulgence.
It felt like 5 or 10 minutes of overindulgence.
I think they needed to shut the book on Michael and Book. But no, I agree. I think that was a little extra. I think you could have stopped the thing. There's like nothing truly critical to what's happened in the last 5 seasons happens there. It's just that you get to see Michael happy and old.
And
old person makeup.
absolutely. And then I could see why they took it to Michael doing this final mission.
Right. Then it seemed like, okay, it was indulgent, but now there's also this other thing, this dangling something or other, with Discovery being sent to a quiet, remote part of space and waiting for a craft. What the hell?
Well, do you want... we can go into it in Easter eggs, but...
You told me to watch the after show. I didn't have time, so I will.
Okay.
But wait. Is part of the chat the thing you wanted to mention last time, or is that news?
Yes.
Or something?
So I think Michelle Paradise revealed that this ending was supposed to be a season 6 ending. So basically, season 6 was to set up Discovery ending up ready for Calypso, essentially, tying up that thread, if you will. And I think what was somewhat interesting about it was that Michael Chabon was the producer that set up the Calypso short track. And Michelle Paradise wanted to tie up that thread at the end of Discovery because it was, I think we've established that these short tracks are canon, so we wanted to tie that up. But she said that the Discovery production team had 8 weeks from when Paramount signed off the epilogue to when they had to shoot it. Yeah, so I think they cancelled Discovery in early 2023, so they had this very, very short window to conclude season 5. And Paradise talks about, this rush, not only the rush to find Discovery's ending, but how she was going to tie Calypso in with that ending, which, they were going to do with another season.
Of course.
So, and she said that once having season 6 was no longer an option, she knew that resolving Calypso was non-negotiable. So she was like, okay, well, we're not going to have a season to do that. So how do we elegantly tie it in this very, very short period of time? And that the story, nascent as it was eventually going to tie up that thread and connect Discovery back to Calypso. And she didn't want it to be, they never wanted Calypso to be the dangling Chad.
Dangling Chad is what I was looking for. Yes.
So, and the budget only allowed for 3 days of production. So that was what they did.
Christ. Well, that's why they were like, all right, you put some honey in her coffee and then we'll shoot a conversation on a ship with your son and then just you alone on the deck.
Yeah. I think it was elegantly done for the limits that they had. But I just feel, part of me just feels like the production team, Michelle Paradise, and frankly, the fans got shortchanged.
Of course. We got shortchanged by Paramount Plus. Screwing the pooch. Doing too much too fast. But hey, don't tell. I mean, listen, this is the house that Star Trek Discovery built. But they want to put their money in freaking Halo or whatever, all these crazy other episodes and expand. And, it could have been great, is all I'm saying. But they decided to do more than they needed. And now we don't know what will become of Paramount Plus, do we? Steve and I have been sending messages back and forth about the scuttlebutt about where Paramount Plus is going to go and who's in charge of what. That said, quick wrap up of the Moll story. I thought that was sweet. Moll and Book having their conversation. Moll becoming an agent for Kovich makes absolute sense. And Tilly, we get a little mention of Tilly being the longest serving academy instructor as Tilly creates the mentor program and basically stays at the academy for decades. We don't really get what I did miss was I would have loved to learn more about Saru and Tarina. I would have loved to learn more about Stamets, Culber, Adira. Obviously, Reno's probably mixing drinks somewhere. But what is people up to? But hey, that's what happens when you have but a season to complete a 2-season story. So, in the end, I think I always feel like with finales, if they're not 2-parters, then you're always going to be a little bit underwhelmed. You're always going to be a little bit like, what about so-and-so? What about, these storylines? And then B, when you come back to them years later, you're like, that's a fine ending for a story, whatever, I feel that way about almost every Trek franchise. I'm like, the end, apart from TNG, which really nailed it with all good things, which is, they had the poker and they had 7 seasons and it was a 2-parter. I come back to them and I go, this is a pretty good ending. The ending was pretty good. And it's really about the story. It's not about the ending. So I'm sorry to say goodbye to Discovery and the crew, but here we are.
Easter eggs.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work up from that depressed state to Easter eggs. Hello, we're at the Easter egg desk for Star Trek Discovery one last time. We go immediately to Stevie Manns on the scene. Stevie, what have you got for us today?
Well, hello there, Aki. I am here at the finale of Star Trek Discovery, Season 5, Episode 10, and we have some cute little Easter eggs for you that we don't often get from Star Trek Discovery. So,
we discovered that Kovich is Agent Daniels. That was a nice little tie-in.
Yes,
so we've got him going across franchises of Star Trek. Did you happen to notice the little trinkets in his office?
Of course I did.
What did you spot?
I didn't write it down, but there's Cisco's baseball, Geordi's visor, something from Chateau Picard wine.
Very good.
Is there a fourth thing?
2 more.
Oh no, there's 2 more things. Is there like a beagle collar or something stupid like that? What the fuck? I don't remember.
Okay. There's a Terran Empire dagger.
Yes. Yes.
And there was a very chunky Type 2 phaser from Next Generation.
Oh, yes.
That is kind of a super nerdy thing because that particular phaser design was affectionately dubbed the Dust Buster by fans It was only seen during Next Generation's early days. In season 1, there were 2 models of the phaser. There was like a smaller, discrete model referred to as the Type 1, and then the larger version, which Kovich displays on his shelf, as the Type 2. That one was generally used on away missions, as seen in like The Last Outpost, but Picard also used one to kill the possessed admirals in the banned TNG episode Conspiracy.
That's banned?
Apparently. Maybe it was banned at the time.
Oh. I remember him killing the admirals with the weird things in their stomach.
Yes, I also remember that, but I think it was banned at the time because that was considered too graphic. I know.
Wow.
Imagine that.
Hello.
Yes, and then it was later replaced. Anyway, so this is a, you know, very particular prop that only appeared in very short episodes or very short moments in time of TNG history.
Yeah.
We also heard that Tilly is the longest tenured professor at Starfleet Academy, which begs the question, will she appear in the upcoming new series of Star Trek entitled Starfleet Academy?
Wait, is that taking place in this timeline? Like
Yes.
late? Oh, it is. So maybe she'll be like, I'm Tilly.
Hello, Tilly.
Hello. Tilly, don't be silly.
Indeed.
I mean, that'd be a nice time.
So Star Trek producers have yet to announce whether Mary Wiseman, who plays Tilly, will be in Starfleet Academy. However, I shall leave that there.
That would be a big hook for
That'd
me.
be good.
Wow.
Well, that is all from the Easter egg desk, Aki. It is back to you in the studio.
Good heavens. Oh, sorry, James Mason here. I've taken over the Easter egg desk. I just was so surprised by that Mary Wiseman news. Is there any news we'd like to report?
Yes.
Shall we move on to the news then?
Let's move on to the news.
News from around the galaxy.
Well, the biggest news, Aki, that I have is that Paul Giamatti is joining the cast of Starfleet Academy
As their heel, which is very exciting.
as their villain.
The
as
villain.
their-
Yeah, the heel is wrestling
Oh,
talk.
like I'd know that. The news was broken this week by The Hollywood Reporter, who describes Giamatti's role as a man with an ominous past, with a connection to one of the show's cadets.
Oh, I love
So perhaps we have a cadet who's going to be our hero, and Giamatti is his antagonist, her, or their antagonist, shall we say?
Yes, indeed. Uncle Giamatti,
Yes.
who's got connections
maybe.
to the chain or something. I don't know. His name won't be Uncle Giamatti.
We shall see. Giamatti has expressed his love for the Star Trek universe in a 2019 appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, sharing his desire to play a Klingon.
Maybe he'll be a Klingon.
But the news from The Hollywood Reporter has no information on the character that he's going to play other than that description above. He has said, Alex Kurtzman said, sometimes you're lucky enough to discover that one of the greatest actors alive is also a huge Star Trek fan. And meeting Paul was one of those miraculous moments for us. And Academy showrunner Noga Landau, in a statement released, said, the sheer delight with which he dove into the Starfleet Academy is only surpassed by the gratitude we feel about him joining this cast.
Wow, such
love.
Such ambassadorial language
Cute.
from the sheer delight with which you. Yes. Well, I can't wait. Now I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, this is shaping up
this,
to be quite good. And I think
this could be cool.
we were a little because Prodigy hasn't really warmed the hearts of fans. It's it's quite specific to a younger audience, but Starfleet Academy, it's sounding like it might be quite a broad appeal in some way that Star Trek Exchange New Worlds has been.
Indeed.
So-
I'm sure it'll be adventure of the week kind of deal, but also with Giamatti.
Does sound like Moriarty.
Moriarty. I think that's what I was going for unconsciously. Giamatti was here. Okay.
Yes. Well, that is it from. Oh wait, no, sorry. And there is some slight. We have discussed the ongoing deals at Paramount and Paramount
Yes.
Plus. Shari Redstone, who heads up Paramount Plus, has finally rejected a deal from Skydance Studios. That is completely off the table. Negotiations have completely broke down at the last moment. So it's back on. It's anyone's guess. There is an eye. The deal is being eyed by Edgar Bronfman, who did head up Warner Studios, and I think by his company Bain Capital, which is a private equity firm. So who knows? But that is where we are now.
My word. What a strange time we live in.
I think the Redstone family founded Paramount, and I think she's very hesitant to part with it. But I hope that they're able to find a way to save Paramount and our beloved franchise.
Indeed. Although selfishly at night, when I'm lying awake staring at the ceiling, I think even if Paramount goes under, someone's going to buy Star Trek. Someone's going to buy the Star Trek
for sure
imprint. If it's Amazon or Netflix or whoever.
Disney?
Well, Disney. Yeah, Disney will get in there, you know?
That would be sensible. But Disney already has Star Wars. Can they have both?
They have Marvel and Star. They don't give a shit. They'll take any IP they can take, they'll take.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Aki, that is all from the news.
Quotable moments.
There's a few in this here episode. I wrote down just that Book says at one point when they're like, you can't go out there and the ship will die in the radiation and so on and so forth. He just says to Rayner, hey, let me do this. Which is just such an, oh yeah, Book moment. Hey, let me do this. And Rayner's like, all right. I liked Saru saying to Admiral Vance, diplomacy cannot succeed if both parties threaten violence. When Hugh volunteers to go out with Book, Stamets says, there are black holes out there, Hugh, which I thought was very good. I loved the interaction between Saru and Tahal, where Tahal comes on at first and says, Ambassador Saru, are you insane? And Saru says, not to the best of my knowledge, but I do require your attention. And then later, when Saru says, look deep into my eyes and see if you think, oh, that I might be kidding or wavering, before turning away, Tahal says, you are insane. I thought that was cool. Action Saru. Cute moment that's not really a quote, but Culber and Book standing side by side after they've connected the tractor beam. Book's like, how did you know how to do that? And Culber says, I'm a doctor, not a physicist, but this will work. Oh, this is right before they do that, which is a nice callback to Book. I have the quote that Saru says. He says, look into my eyes and tell me if you see even the slightest glimmer of doubt. And then Tahal says, you are insane. A brick is just a brick. It can create a home or destroy a body, as said by Progi, our nameless progenitor. And then finally, just a cracking moment for Mary Wiseman when Rayner says, say we disable all the safeguards, all of them on the spore drive, could we jump something that's not Discovery? And I counted them. She says, oh no, then 10 times. No, 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 absolutely, absolutely not, maybe. Here endeth Quotable Moments.
Next time on Set Phasers.
Well, who knows what the hell we'll do next time? Were we talking about maybe Lower Decks Season 3?
Yes, indeed.
We might do Lower Decks Season 3 as our next thing after we've had a suitable mourning period for Discovery. I might have some more to say about Discovery as I think about it. But anyway, there will be a next time for us. And if you've enjoyed this episode, then please go back and find other episodes. Seriously, if you enjoyed this episode and this was your first one, go back and figure out what happened on all of Discovery, which we have covered here on our podcast. You can get it wherever you get podcasts.
Yes, do that. And of course, follow us on YouTube. We post all of our episodes there. We post our news clips. We post our Easter eggs. We post lots of things. And do join us on patreon.com/setphasers to be part of our crew.
Yes, we have a Patreon. Hey, go to the Patreon. Give us some support. We have some things going on. Patreon.com/setphasers to join us in all things Trek.
Well, that is it from me. I am Stevie Mans.
And I'm Aki Vermees. I'm torn about this whole thing being over. And I am Aki Vermees. And sometimes life itself is meaning enough. And this has been Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
Computer. End program.